What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay at daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, sorry, it was going to be uploaded yesterday. However, it kind of got late last night, and it was like, you know what? Let's upload it on Tuesday because it is going to be an analysis of the AFC North, and not just an analysis of the Ravens, but I'm going to be looking at all of the team schedules and looking at, obviously, highlighting the Ravens the most in how teams will be able to win the AFC North in order to make the playoffs, because obviously the Ravens are on a 3-game losing streak, but they still have 2 big divisional games to play against, and the AFC North is by far the closest division in the NFL right now. So going through what the standings are looking like, Cincinnati leading the division at 8-6. The Ravens are at 8-6. The Steelers are right behind at 7-6-1, and the Browns are in last place at a record of 7-7. All of these teams have 3 games left to play, and currently the Bengals have a 3-1 divisional record. The Ravens have a 1-3 divisional record. The Browns have a 2-2 divisional record, and the Steelers have a 2-2 divisional record. So right now, the Cincinnati Bengals have the clear hold on the division with the record that they have against the rest of the division, and they have the best record in the division. So how are the Ravens going to be able to pass the Bengals? Well, that step comes up this week. The Ravens schedule, they play the Bengals next week. If the Ravens beat the Bengals, they will have a 1-game lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. So that is a must-win game. If the Ravens want to make the playoffs, they have to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, because if they don't beat the Bengals, let's say the Ravens lose to the Bengals and the Ravens win out, they're going to need the Cincinnati Bengals to lose out. And I'm not going to say that that's impossible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because the Bengals do have somewhat of a difficult schedule. They play the Chiefs, and then they play the Browns after that. They would have to lose out, but the Ravens would then need to beat the Rams and the Steelers after losing to the Bengals, which that's also a difficult schedule for the Ravens to do. So if the Ravens really want to have a good shot at it, they're going to have to get their revenge against the Cincinnati Bengals. But, you know, when you're looking at that and you're a Ravens fan, that should scare you a little bit for how, or not scare you, but emphasize how important this game is this week. I talked about it coming out of the bye that the most important game of the Baltimore Ravens season was that game against the Minnesota Vikings, because that was going to be the game that set the standard for who the team is. And I said, until there is a game that is a must-win game, it will be the most important game. I believe this is the Baltimore Ravens' first must-win game of the season. They must win against the Bengals, and then I'll talk about the Steelers in a second, but they must win against the Bengals. Now, if the Ravens are to beat the Bengals, they will have a 1-game lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. However, they'll have a half-game lead over the Steelers if the Steelers are able to win next week. But who did the Steelers play? The Chiefs. Difficult team to beat. Very difficult team to beat. And then the Steelers play the Browns, which, hey, either team could win that game. And then the Steelers obviously finish off against the Ravens. If the Steelers want to catch up to the Ravens, they are going to have to win one more game than the Baltimore Ravens. So if the Ravens win 2 games, the Steelers have to win out to beat out the Ravens. And the only way that would happen was if the Ravens' 2 wins were against the Bengals and then the Rams, and then the Steelers would have to win out and then beat the Ravens in week 18. That is relatively unlikely, I'm going to say. But if the Ravens only win 1 game, the Steelers just need to win 2. And so it really could come down to the Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh Steelers matchup in week 18. And obviously this is considering if the Ravens' 1 win was against the Bengals. And if it is against the Bengals, then the Bengals would be lower in the standings. And then if they were to lose to a team like the Chiefs or something like that, then the Steelers would be able to take over and be leading that division. But then the final team is the Cleveland Browns. And I think a lot of people are writing off the Cleveland Browns because, I mean, they've looked a little bit poor in recent weeks. They almost pulled off a great win against the Las Vegas Raiders. As a Ravens fan, I'm very happy that they did. Shout out to the Raiders for getting the job done. Shout out to Dan Carlson, and shout out to Derek Carr for getting that job done. But the Browns potentially could be getting some players back. You know, they were ravaged by the reserves and COVID this week, and honestly, injuries. It's been pretty bad for them this week. Not saying it hasn't been bad for other teams. The Ravens got destroyed as well, but the Browns were pretty banged up going into this week, and they weren't able to win. But they play against the Green Bay Packers on Saturday. That's a huge game. The Browns are last place in this division. They're 7-7. However, they still can win if they win out. They can win this division because they still play the Steelers and they still play the Bengals. And if the Browns beat both of those teams, that gives them a one-game catch-up against them. And the Browns have the tiebreaker over the Bengals because they beat the Bengals earlier this year. And so if the Browns beat the Bengals, and we just take that game right there in the standings, the Browns are tied with the Bengals after that. And then it comes down to who has the better record. If they both go 2-1 and both of them have one loss, the Browns, I'm sorry, if the Browns have one more win than the Bengals and they beat the Bengals, the Browns will make the playoffs. And I think that everybody's kind of counting out the Browns to be able to win this division because they do play the Packers. But all of these teams are playing each other still, and they're all interconnected in how this division will finish out. If you want to win this division, you're going to have to beat the divisional opponents. I don't think the games they all play a difficult team, a very difficult team that is outside of division. The Ravens play the Rams. The Bengals play the Chiefs. The Packers play the Browns, but then the Steelers also play the Chiefs. 3 of the best teams in the NFL right there. They're all getting played. All of the teams could lose those games. And I wouldn't be that surprised. I don't think anybody. Now, obviously, I hope the Ravens beat the Rams and all these things that would help them in the standings. But it all comes down to who wins this round robin between these AFC North teams when they all play 2 games. It all comes down to that. So if you're the Ravens, the key to making the playoffs is beat the Bengals and beat the Steelers. If you're the Steelers, you got to beat I believe they play the Bengals. I got to make sure that I remember. The Steelers, they got to make sure they beat the Bengals, and they got to make sure that they beat the Ravens. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you have to make sure that you beat the Bengals and you beat the Steelers. I'm sorry, the Steelers play the Browns. Again, sorry for mixing that up. But it's just trying to show everybody that this division is so close that all that matters is the interdivisional games. I really believe that. So, because I think that there's a good chance that all of them lose their out-of-division games. And so that means there's 2 games that separate all of these teams from winning and losing, and they all get to play each other, which is going to make it the most entertaining division to finish out the year, by far. So get your popcorn ready, watch some good football, and hopefully, if you're a Ravens fan, the Ravens win out. If you're a fan of another team, let me know what you guys think the Bengals record's going to be, the Steelers record, the Browns record, and the Ravens record. Let me know what you guys think for the schedule. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I will see all of you again